Boom. We're recording.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's going on? Welcome to, is this like your office?
This is actually what I call Lenny's Playhouse. It is a back room that I have in the salon that is just my idea place. Like if I give you a little quick tour, it's, oh, there's my babies, my staff. There's all the places we've been. These are my girlies. That was a perm I just launched on how to teach. These are some of my projection heads on placement. This is Lenny's Playhouse. And the coolest thing that just happened to me, I just had a famous artist. Can you see that? I got it pointed at Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Her name is Bonita LeBlanc. And I just am doing her hair because she's in town for a gallery exhibit. And she sold her John Lennon to Yoko Ono. So she's telling the story. So I almost didn't make the cut on time.
Oh, wow.
And she gave me that painting.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. Bonita LeBlanc. So cool.
Yes. All right. Well, welcome to a super important podcast about hair. We have Ryan Teal with us and myself, Steven, and our guest today is Lenny King, longtime educator for Paul Mitchell and salon owner and just awesome all-around guy. So how do we want to start this one today, Ryan? You're usually the instigator of like trouble.
Let's say first, Lenny, why don't you give us a little history? I mean, the last time I think I saw you personally was in San Diego. We were on stage for the first time together trying out for the PAC team, which I didn't make, and I got my panties in a wad, so I had to leave.
I
didn't make it that day either.
That's been 20 years.
Oh, no joke, man. No, and you look fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
20 bridge. Wow. Yeah, I'm in my 60s now. But what I found out about, doing the show circuit and traveling a lot was you got to come home. And when you come home, what are you doing for, to build up your guest list? I mean, it was great traveling and having all that opportunities with the brand and with the company. But when you get off the plane and you come home, I came into a place where I was not recognized by my own team, by a lot of my clients had left. And then I had to rebuild. So I'd like to talk about what it's like after life after the road,
All right. There we go. I was going to say, Ryan's on the road, you're after the road, and I'm like in between.
Yeah.
But you're still working in a salon as well. You still have a guest list. Yeah, right?
Oh. No, not at all. I'm full-time.
Full-time education. All right.
Yeah, I taught 700 classes last year. I was on the road 42 weeks.
I remember those 40 weeks in a 52-week year. I had a couple of those. But after 15 years with the brand, that's how a lot of people know me. But before the brand, I'm just one of those guys that love every aspect of this industry. So, when fantasy competitions first started, I entered fantasy competitions. So I did a lot of I entered a lot of where you have to make your own prosthetic molds and things. And so I traveled to New York, did some of the national shows there, did a lot of the statewide fantasy shows. And, I won a bunch of awards. It was a lot of fun, but then it was like, what's next? Well, then a friend of mine saw my portfolio and said, why don't you try out for a new TV show they're doing at Universal called All That. It's like sketch comedy, like Saturday Night Live for kids. So I jumped on that, sent in my resume, did everything. Next thing I know, I'm working on a ACE-nominated kid show.
Oh, nice.
Nominated kid show. A guy called Win Play Ball while I was doing some non-product classes for Kitty Victor and Beverly Kilmer, and they were non-product at the time. What was the name of that? It was called Salon Alliance Corporation, NASP, National Alliance of Salon Professionals. And I was like, this is great. I worked for Fermisi as a platform artist for a while. That was a lot of fun, but then I got stolen by Colorly, and that was a lot of fun. And I thought, you know what? I really don't want to be a product prostitute. I really would just love to just do hair, do education. So I signed up with Beverly Kilmer, who was a good friend of Win Claybaugh's and Kitty Victor. And from there, they were like, you need to go for a company. You need to work for a company. And they signed me up with Paul Mitchell because they were just getting a color line. And color line will be under my fingernails for the rest of the time. So that's my history, quick and painless.
Nice.
And now now I'm back in the salon being revived after first walkout a couple of years ago. You know, I've been 27 years in the business, salon owner, and 37 as a hairdresser, and in my 60s, like I said. And I just see all these relevant guys like, you know, LB Mulcahy and all these older gen that just have so much, and they've forgotten more than these influencers will ever learn. So I feel like I'm in good company with some of the old school, the old guard, if you will. And just like I said, with Lenny's Playhouse, getting back into education, I just started doing some independent classes once a month at the salon because I figured, hey, I'm training my salon at least twice a month. So why not invite others in? And as you can see, I'm a little stocked up on my manis. I got to keep it going. For 150 bucks, you come in, you get me from like 10 till 4. You get a mannequin. I give you a little nosh for breakfast. I give you a little lunch, and then we knock out some. And I can show you some afterwards if you want to see. But I like doing exercises with some of the young ones because this is not a, what do you call it? This is a contact sport. Here's a contact. And I say doing it live with me is better than a YouTube minute.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh yeah, it's yeah. I was gonna say actually, our last podcast with Adam Federico, we talked about that a lot. It was just kind of like, you want to be in it. You want to be like dealing with. Have your hands in the hair. Have your hands doing whatever practice that you're doing.
These kids do treat it like
more. You can't learn by a video. Video is inspiration.
No, absolutely. That's to inspire you to do. But once the hands do, then you're in good shape. So can you tell folks, this is pretty awesome that I get to talk with you guys. I love your show. I can't watch all of them because sometimes, you know, they're 40 minutes and, you know, I'm in, out, you know, running into the back room. But when I see you guys are on, I absolutely love seeing what you got going, all your travels, going to, you know, working with the Rojo and also with Ryan and his travels too. It's pretty cool. And I'm not so much into the traveling anymore, but I've got 4,000 square feet of playhouse here. So my whole.
How big is your salon? 4,000?
4,000 square feet. I'm in just a little, this is my playhouse. It's just a little tiny back room. You know, I keep my, my wardrobe.
You got everything back there.
Manis, where I'll color the hair black and leave little holidays and stuff and make them have to go through. And what we've been doing is trying out different product companies and their removers. So this is a whole little series on which ones work better. You know, does the Joico work better? Does, you know, is it a color balancing situation? Is it, so, you know, you can see.
That's pretty awesome.
It is awesome. It is awesome.
Have you gone, I'm curious, have you ever been to the American Board Certified Colorist Education?
You know, I never went and got through that because for 15 years, I've only been retired from the brand for, this is my start of my 5th year, I think was November. And I wanted to be a rock star, so I traveled around playing in some bands, some Irish bands and it was a goal to go to Scotland and play. And it was a goal to have a CD, you know, when you're busy.
You're like,
plug from CD. We're on Spotify, we're on Amazon. McIntyre is the name.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Be a rock star. That was a lot of fun. So 4 years, that's what is focused on Irish music.
Well,
how many staff do you have now?
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe next year I'll have you see if I can have you as a guest. If they'll let me come and teach again next year. We'll see. And then if I do, then I can have you come in as a guest and just come and check it out because it's a cool experience because ABCH is all about non-product and Andre, who's started it, is all he ever does is test like every product line and every color and every color remover and every bleach and does science experiments with them to how they work, just like what you're talking about. So I'm like, you'd totally dig it.
Oh gosh, I love that. I actually am not allowed in Home Depot anymore because they caught me stealing swatches at all the paint swatches at all the different places. And I've actually created a system for, it's patented as well, for color placement, but how to make colors, just like the machine at Home Depot, and how it can take any color and look at it and know what part it needs, you know,
Really?
to create. those salmons and corals and things like that. And it's a system. It's an educational system. It's not a tool, but it's just working with knowing the colors, knowing how to get there. And it's didn't come from hair. It actually came from 6 years of being an art major. So I put that together and I teach that in my class.
That's really freaking cool.
Make them do, all the triadics, all the split complementaries, all the analogous, come up with those color schemes by taking all those swatches, and I just throw them on the table and make them go fish, like playing cards. It's always been about fun for me. If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. So.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
So go ahead. Ryan.
I have a question that kind of leads a little bit into business. Lenny, I mean, you've always kind of been, as long as I've known you, you've been like super into art, and like you're a musician, and you were saying that, you come from an art background. Mm-hmm. And then you said that when you came back from being on the road, you, your staff didn't really know who you were, blah, 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 blah. Yep. How are you able, or is it you, who is able to manage, because you have an artistic background, how is it that you're able to switch into that more of the right brain
to get back
running a business? Yeah.
Well, I always say it this way. I have a wonderful wife. We're celebrating 40 years. We've been together for 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And she manages and I manufacture.
Okay.
Now, because of the business, I'm able to direct what my needs are regarding software, what my needs are as far as the numbers that I need to know. And it truly is about having to rethink the change that's happening in our industry. So we got a great touchscreen with shortcuts. They've done so much for us as far as the marketing going out there. But what I've learned from the artistic side is it's a social industry, but it's not social looking at a screen. Talking with a guy who's probably one of my dear mentors. He's an account manager, and he said, there's people that are insta famous, but they're not insta successful. They're not insta rich. They might get picked up. They might get some sponsorship. But the thing is, he asked me, with all of your social media work that you do, how many new clients does it bring in? And I've got a lot of hairdressers on my page. I have a lot of people that I, am in contact with through that, but it's truly the social interaction that's been lost. I had to get back out and go to the chamber meetings. There's not a hairdresser in the morning that goes to a networking.
Oh, yeah.
They don't get up to go do those things. So I had to back on the road, take off my rock star, hat, put on my plumber's butt, and go sit amongst, people with small business and work. I called it a little series that I did. Instead of State of the Union, State of the Onion.
Nice.
State of the Onion, what my head is thinking. And I had to get back into, I got to build my game up. I was looking at, I'm still 6-figure hairdresser, but where am I from double 6 to 6 in growing a business?
Right.
And what I found out is it doesn't come, that's just should be a backup. All of the thumb work should be from the bum work. Your thumb work on social media and stuff should be because your butt is out there hitting, different groups, different organizations, different ways to, the only way I can lead my team is like, if we're not busy, I'm not busy. If I'm not busy, how am I going to get busy? I'm not going to get busy by saying, free haircut, I have an opening at 10:30. It's going to be, what group am I not involved with right now? Whether it's going to the pub to play at sessions, open mics. How I met the artist was going to a gallery exhibit, how do they say it? Get up, dress up, show up. And then don't forget the last part of that.
Shut up.
No one to shut up.
Yeah.
So true.
Got it right. But
it's like, I don't know. I think the old way of going out there and just like meeting people is by far still the best way to build a clientele and to build your business, and to like, by far it's the strongest way to do it. It's kind of interesting. We did a research thing in our salon. Like every guest that comes in gets surveyed, and we want to know like how first time client, how did they end up here? 90% of them, 90% is word of mouth.
90%. Yep.
Pretty much 90%. Then from there, it's kind of like, it just kind of starts to dwindle down. Then it goes into Google searches. Then it goes into Yelp. Social media is at the bottom of the list. And yeah, you do get some.
Yes, you still have, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because Google, and we asked the same question, and Google is primarily, they always say the reviews. So that lends me into going back into the education. The reviews are going to be bad when the staff's not educated. The reviews are going to be bad when the service, the dollars are here, and the expectation, you don't match how do they say it? Your expectations don't match the dollar charge. So I mean, I want bootlicking service for my guest in here. I want you to feel like you are the best thing that's ever happened to us, because you are.
That's a good point. I mean, that was actually kind of where I was wanting to lead us to a second ago. Was a couple of weeks ago, Steven posted, what's the difference between a $20 haircut and a $200 haircut? I said $180. What was it? The other day I was on, I think it was on Hanzo Nation had posted something that says, that I charge based off of talent, skill, not off of your pocketbook. And I kind of feel like we're not taught how to charge, because in my opinion, when we're charged based off of talent or skill, that's perspective.
Right.
How much you have is perspective. Really, I would say, I mean, if you base off of that, wouldn't that almost be like an ego-driven thing? And how do you price? Being an artist and being a business person, how do you price based off of a service in your salon?
That's a great question, Ryan. In the beginning, I was so low end because there was a self-abasement that I thought, the artist has to suffer. The art, all of these people, I know them. I know their daughter. I know that they're trying to get her through school. I know that I know them from church. And I was giving breaks to everybody. And guess what? I was doing 18 to 21 clients a day.
Oh, I remember that
because somebody said, "Oh my gosh, you suffer from that dreaded disease, no acetol." And I said, "Well, really, what I don't work off and what my wife doesn't chew out, I got just enough to hold my pants up." But it was a result of low pricing that I was working that hard to make the ends meet. $40 haircuts, $40 retouch applications, $60 highlights. I mean, so I was busting it out, working 2 assistants, paying them as well. And then I think it was Neil Dukoff or one of those guys, maybe Michael Cole. I went to one of their business things, and it kind of started hitting me where I was going to do it small incrementally, so I didn't hurt anybody. It was like move the piano on the platform 1 inch every Sunday, so the congregation doesn't realize it's being moved, that kind of thing. Yeah. And one day I had a guest that came in, and he was a high-end motivational speaker, $1,500 a day, spoke for Bendex, $3,000 Armani suits, the designer ties, the Leonard ties, and Hermes ties. He's sitting in my chair because of word of mouth to get a haircut, and he was like, "How much are your men's cuts?" And I'm like, "Oh, they're 25." He said, "Let me tell you something, young man." He's a motivational speaker. He says, "My suit that I wear on stage is anywhere between $3,000 and $6,000. My shoes are Salvador Ferragamo." He says they're $600 to $700 a pair. And he said, "My tie is an Hermes tie, and it goes for $350. And I'm going to ask you again, how much is my haircut going to be?" And I was taken aback, and I said, $50. He said, "That's better." He says, "I'm either going to pay you or I'm going to tip you, depending on the service that you render." And I went, a little light bulb came on. And every person that you see that cries about money, take a look out the window of your salon. It's probably an Audi. It might be a Lexus. It might be just, what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
So it is based on what you charge, what you believe you are worth. the story about Shaquille O'Neal when he first came to Orlando, first round draft pick. And they said, my gosh, he's getting what? 40 million a season? What? And they said, and the guy says to him, is he worth that? And this other guy, the announcer, says, he got it. And he goes, well, if he got it, he's worth it. So,
Exactly.
you know,
So-
to me, that was a big part of it as well.
So here's my question about that then. And again, I'm just playing devil's advocate because I really don't have a horse in this race anymore because I mean, I still own a salon, but I'm not behind the chair. But I do deal with a lot of newer salons as well as newbies in the industry. And you know, we both come from, I mean, all three of us actually come from a time period where, you know, we had a Scotsman, a crazy Scotsman that used to tell everybody to charge more or do more, you know, and I drive this, 12 miles per gallon, Humvee, and I need to, be charging, 100, 200, 300, $1,000 a haircut, but you're in Paducah, Kentucky, and you're trying to charge that much, but you can't. And, is that hurting people saying you need to charge that much? Because I remember, here's a good example. When I lived in Portland, Oregon, my rent at my salon, the last salon that I had, I think was $1,200. I could pay for that in an afternoon. I was charging $150 a haircut when I stopped working behind the chair. I could pull that off. But early on in my career, when I was listening to this Scotsman that we're talking about, when I was trying to charge, $75, I actually had to lower my prices, midway because I wasn't in demand enough.
Sure.
And we hurt people by saying we need to charge more.
Well, here's how it worked for me. And, God bless the Flying Scotsman, because there's motivators and there's people that inspire, and the influencers, to me, they motivate me to do and think my own way. But a guy who can motivate, that aspect really helped my business, because it was like reputation. So if you're doing a lot and you're community wide and the quality of your work is at that level, that you're aspiring to. I mean, if you haven't been to a class, being an education guy, if you haven't been to a class since the last premiere show, God bless you. You get what you get. You don't throw a fit, is what I used to tell my kids. Mm-hmm. But if you're out there working it and you're working your craft and you're doing these little exercises and you're coming up with like the dialogue even that I have to continually work on happens every season. Do you know that I knew what the colors were going to be, what the fashion cuts were going to be, that it was going to be 20s, 40s, and 60s and 80s was going to be the influence for fashion before it even hit any of the pages. So that's the research I do before I even go into a season. If I'm going to be doing hair color, if I showed you my front window right now, you'd be seeing coral, you'd be seeing pea green, you'd be seeing Fiesta red, you'd be seeing all of the different things.
Yeah, all the colors.
The window is going to be red, white, and blue. So that's my front window. I go into it like a game and use it, the marketing. But to get back to the pricing, the hardest thing was 2008 when I was $100 a haircut, and it was 2008, and all of a sudden the bomb dropped.
Yeah,
it was a tough year for everybody.
Yeah, it was.
I'm close to NASA. We did a lot of NASA technicians. NASA was canceled. I did a lot of big ministry people. They moved to Texas, moved to California. All of a sudden, every builder whose wife, and not construction worker, I'm talking builder, the guy that owned all the construction work, he closed down and they left. And all of a sudden, there are tumbleweeds blowing in the salon. I couldn't lower my prices. Why? Because of the tier pricing. Would that have been fair to my staff that I've given them a pathway to be able to increase their revenue? Would that be fair to them that all of a sudden I drop my revenue to be able to take most of the guests? It wasn't going to work. So through the 8 years of what we went through and after 2008, it was tough, and everybody had to work through it. But the reputation, the education, and the demand, I couldn't let that go. We still had to keep that in the forefront of our education. We still had to be the best. We still had to offer all the amenities that we offered in the beginning. Whether you serve Earl Grey tea, you can't take Earl Grey tea away once you've served it. Try to take welfare away from the people right now that have been getting it. Try to take care away from the people right now that have been getting it. Try to take a phone away from the person that's been getting it. once you've got it, you're not taking it away. So ergo, we're just glad to see things, start to come. I got my numbers, from past, because I wasn't sure if you guys were going to try to stump the chump.
Sure.
So I went 2009 for my personal numbers all the way up to current, just to show you where that influx happened and how I still had to be busy about it.
So here's the question I have for you. So pricing, you wanted to lower them, but you didn't. So how did you keep your salon afloat in 2008, 2009, and what did you do that kept it growing through to where you are today?
Oh, as far as that aspect, it was maintaining, brother, just like you. It was to maintain so we didn't lose it. Those were the days that the houses, I mean, I got a 5-bedroom house, on a lake in Florida. And I have a son who graduated from law school with $300,000 in loans, some of them being Parent Plus. I have a daughter to a dance conservative. I'm not bragging on myself. I'm just painting a picture for you. A daughter who was at a dance conservatory because of getting a great scholarship in New York City, who had a great career in New York. And I have a son who went to a local college, but still 5 years of local college. So all my kids were adults and needing the help from dad during the time. Stored a little bit of nuts for the winter, but I didn't store, nuts in every tree for the winter.
Right.
Crash.
So how did you inspire your team to keep going and keep the salon going? Because you're out, you're hitting the streets, you're doing you were doing what you needed to do to bring new clients in. But what did you do with your team? Well, I made him run away. No.
Just tell you that I had to go from a team of at the time 16 to 12. I got 4,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And I could possibly get. Let's see. If I did shifts like you run sometimes, if I did shifts in here, I could have. I had the opportunity to think about chair rental because a buddy of mine was like, "Now's the time to do chair rental. People are only doing 1 day a week. They want to do. They'll pay you $100 to come work in your salon for the day." And I was like, "This is not a ghetto place. I'm not going to do that." And my then team went to 7, from 9 to 7. From 7, because people had to go with their husbands. They had to move to Tennessee where the work was. They had to move to Texas for the construction. They had to,
7 people in a 4,000 square foot salon now.
Yeah, right.
And
it's I would be freaking out at this moment.
$6,000 a month. $6,000 a month is what my nut was. So and that was just rent. That's not amenities and what happened.
I know.
What they do to our working capital, which was basically, your credit card. We had 3%, 9%, right? All of a sudden it went to almost 30% for every business card I had.
And then
so it was bananaramas from a very, very small cloistered team. And we worked together as a team to keep, in all honesty, and I got to give credit to the creator above for giving creative ideas. And during that time, we did do a lot of charity work. We worked with a group called the Sharing Center. I worked with local businesses, put things together. We opened up for networking, knowing that, hey, if the Israelites could keep shoes on their feet for 40 years in the desert, do you think it was because they were magic shoes, or do you think because they were networking and working together? I think a lot of them were, hey, my 17-year-old is growing out of his, but it looks like, I think a lot of that went on. So we absolutely did that during that time, and worked with local businesses and did a lot of charitable events where we're at, because not everybody during that time was hurting. They were holding on to a lot of what they had, but they thought, if this is what they do, then this is the business we want to support. So
I think it's the charity. I think charity is a really good idea when you're down. I think that's a fantastic idea.
I agree.
So I love what our buddy Abe Barron. You guys love Abe. How can you not love Abe and Melissa?
Oh, yeah.
I want to blat every time I see what he's doing. I'm like, dude,
I could never do that.
Prone for that man in heaven. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
But then I was very involved in the schools. I had a little trouble with the schools, but I won't go into that because it's what's done is done. Past is past. What's done is done. But I started hitting some of the smaller schools that were hurting as well. So I started doing education for them. And from there, you know, the ones that really needed the mentor, the ones who really needed the coach, they were the ones that were coming in and, you know, working as they could when they could. Then it was just staying at the wheel, you know, not having the house foreclosed. We refinanced the house. That was awesome, you know, because it's a massive house with all the student loans. Got some opportunities there with the salon. I went and talked to the business owner who happened to own all the Papa Joe's Italian restaurants in our area. He also owns the only outdoor pool table, because in Florida, everything welts. They come up with a resin and a waterproof top.
Oh, yeah, that just keeps everything going.
Get that out in the humidity.
Yeah.
So nobody's buying pool tables. Nobody's going out to eat. I mean, all that happened in 2008. So I sat down with him and I said, you know, is there anything that you can do? I know that my nut is $6,000 a month. I've been with you, you know, for the last few years, paying it at full price. How about, is there anything you can do? And he gave me a little break on the rent. That helped. But again, it was the networking, because we were all in it together.
It really helps it grow. Yeah, it really pulls it all together. We got about 3 more minutes left, just so you guys know.
Yeah.
Wow,
It's
that
going by
fast.
fast. It
Now
goes
I got
really
believers, man. So don't ever give up. I feel like Winston Churchill. Never give up. Never give up. Never.
You should never give up. No. So I think this is a good time to talk about music.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And then how do we get in touch with each other?
Yeah.
You can call me even on Facebook. You know, you can even.
So
even
Lenny King on Facebook. Are you on Instagram?
Instagram, it's at Lenny King JPMS.
And then if somebody wanted to take classes from you, Lenny, how would they get a hold of you?
Yeah.
Lenny JPMS at Hotmail. I'll send you all the intel because we don't get.
Yeah, you got to tell our listeners. They can't. So.
How to get in touch with me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been kind of like.
We'll just tell them to go to Facebook. Facebook, Lenny King.
Okay, yeah. Lenny, it's just Lenny King on Facebook. It's at Lenny JPMS on Instagram, and that's pretty much.
Are you going to be in Orlando?
I'm in Orlando. I'm just outside, actually, in a small burb.
Are you going to be at the premiere show?
But I'll be at the premiere show.
All right, we'll see you there.
Are you both going to be there?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be Ryan's assistant. I'm gonna like be handing him towels and like doing hair and.
I thought about going back into that aspect of it too, being a human hair grip for some of the best.
Oh, exactly.
I appreciate you very, very much. You guys are the best, and keep going. This industry needs more than a little shot in the arm. You know, I always used to say 2 main motivators in life: either a pat on the back or a kick in the. You know, those are the 2 things.
It's always good. Hey, quick question. 5 albums you can't live without. Got to have your 5 albums you can't live without. You got less than a minute to answer it too.
So you're spinning vinyls like crazy, but I became an Apple Music aholic because I've went through all of my past. Right now, what I'm into is Stanley Clarke, Chick Corea, Return to Forever, Todd Rundgren, anything Todd Rundgren. I've got every song he's ever sang, from Nas when he was 17 years old producing, the Hello People, some of the early stuff with them. I'm a big Zeppelin fan. I got the 4 box set of Zeppelin.
Nice.
Let's see. I got into the Irish music, so the Irish music has been tearing me up. Old Clancy Brothers. I mean, 1961s for vintage stuff. And as far as anybody new right now, I don't know if I'm
probably your album, right?
Like a lowrider, you know, you'll hear me listen to some Nelly. I'm just all over the board. I mean, then all of a sudden you'll hear an opera tune come out of my Apple, you know, because I'll put it on shuffle.
Yeah.
It's my favorite in the world. But